Hello everyone, give me a second. I am trying to figure out the technology stuff real quick. Doop, doop, doop. Okay. Hello, hi. Give me a sec. I'm frozen on here. I'm trying to run like a whole bunch of cameras and stuff, so let's see. Let's see how this goes. Hello everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Um, this is the first time I'm doing I'm streaming to like multiple platforms at the same time. So give me a second to set up everything. Go live. 3, 2, 1. Oh, I see. So it's not this camera. So it's this camera. Okay. Yay, it works already. Oh, I see. Okay. Every camera's right. Yay. Hello, everyone. So I'm here on live, and what I wanted to talk a little bit about today is like the news of the potential rate drop in the next, maybe by September of this year, and how that impacts multifamily apartments. But more importantly, I wanted to dig a little bit into some data points that is really interesting for us people who like, like when you listen to the news, sometimes like you have data that comes out, but is it accurate? And is there some sort of hidden agenda behind why these points are being made? And so we're gonna come and talk to you guys about it today. And let me start by giving you guys a little bit of background. So on Tuesday, Jerome Powell, he was testifying with the banking committee, and he was talking about how sustained long-term, long and high interest rate is not going to be good for the country, and specifically commercial real estate or real estate in general. And that's because obviously people who held properties right now who have variable rates loans are paying a really high premium on their mortgage. That's sorry, that's impacting their bottom line, impacting their cash flow on their properties, right? And so he understands and recognizes that like long-term stability of the country, economically speaking, the banking system, since a lot of banks have exposure to real estate in general, that path isn't really ideal. Now, the thing that's more interesting than that is like the talk has always been about, hey, inflation is the number one thing that people are using to decide, like, or that the feds are sort of like using to decide, hey, is this the right time to start cutting rates? The more important one, and that's been debated over some time, is like, is it really inflation or is it really jobs? Jobs may be the thing that actually determines when the rates are cut going forward. And the interesting thing is like for the last couple of reports, every single time they come out with like a high job number, they subsequently reduce that down. And so that brings up a point like, so what is the reason why it's so off? And it keeps coming up, like, why are they presenting us with a really high number and then dropping it? For instance, it says that, last month, originally it says like, hey, so last month it says we added 206,000 jobs last month, right? But most likely that's going to be revised down because in the past 2 months, we've seen it's revised down by at least 50K per report. And that's a really big amount because it shows that like you think that like the job numbers are 206K that was added, but in fact, it was substantially less than that. And I want to show you guys some data points that shows like the consistent downward revision actually has a direct correlation with recession. So let me show that to you guys right now. So share. Okay, and on Instagram, I'm not sure how to share it on Instagram. I had an idea, it does not work that way. Okay, so just trust me on Instagram. So basically, there's a chart that I have up right now. People on Facebook and YouTube, you guys can see this. Basically, it says like, here's the cumulative non-farming payroll revision, and you can see the chart. Basically, there's a consistent downward trend right now, and then when this revision keeps happening on a downward spiral, it shows that that's the trend towards recession. And so that's something that like has not really been spoken about, because like when these numbers come out, they give you the, hey, employments are awesome, this is the number. That's what he based his talk on, right? Jerome Powell, like even today when he spoke, he said, hey, the numbers are, employment is doing well. But really, like every single time he says that, it's based on the number that came out right away. But he's not talking about the revisions that have happened. No one's going back and saying, hey, well, the number that we said were amazing, it actually isn't. So this is one of the chart that shows that. And then furthermore, most of the jobs, that the 206K jobs that were supposedly added, over 150,000 of those are government or healthcare jobs. And that really is like, if you have majority of the jobs as government jobs, that really proof that the economy is doing as well as we think it is? Because government hiring versus private sector hirings are totally different. And further compounding that is 59K of that has to be adjusted for birth and death. And so when you look at a 200 something K employment number that was added, you're actually looking at, like, if you look at other employment statistics, like unemployment rate surveys, you actually only added 116K job last month. So there's a really huge discrepancy. Not only 150,000 of those jobs are already government / healthcare jobs, which means that there's 50 something K that was not like other private sector jobs, but amongst that also needs to be adjusted down for birth and death rates, right? So in reality right now, unemployment rate today is the highest it's been since 2021, which is 4.1%. If unemployment hits 4.2%, let's say next month, it means that there's this theory, there's this rule that says, like, this, it's called the SAM rule. Basically, it says that if this happens, then we're in a recession, but we just don't know it yet. And so once you're in a recession, then obviously, like, that's time to act, right? The problem with the Federal Reserve, the way they've been doing things, is like they're super reactionary. And so the actions that are taking are such lagging that it actually negatively impacts the rest of the economy. And on like a personal level, I'm very frustrated with the way things are handled, because like the feds, they don't know how to do it in a balanced way. It's always just one extreme or another. It's like before it was, hey, inflation was transitory, don't worry about it, we're not going to do anything. And all of a sudden it went sky high, and then their reaction is like basically they're trying to use like a sledgehammer to put a pin into the wall or something like that, right? So let me show you also so let me show you another graph as well. So this one, the next graph I'm going to show you guys. This is pretty cool. I can do it in share. Okay, so this one is a chart by Citi and Bloomberg, and they call it the surprise index. Basically, it tracks the data that comes in relative to what they forecast. So basically, like what they forecast and reality doesn't match up. And the recent data says that they're missing expectation in a degree that hasn't been seen in the last 10 years. So you can see like you can see how dramatic the differences are. So right now, everything's out of whack. And economists are really good at at analyzing what has happened in the past, but they're terrible at predicting the future. And that's why we have such a mismatch. You can't, yeah, unfortunately, Deepak, I'm sorry, on Instagram, you can't see it. I don't know how to share images on, let me see, share photo. Okay, hold on. There you go. Oh, okay, there we go. Can you guys see it now? Deepak, can you see it? So this graph, the one that I'm showing now on the Instagram page, also on Facebook and also on YouTube, this just shows the correlation between so this shows the correlation between the expectation and actually what happened. And it hasn't been this bad in the last 10 years. So we're really, really off, right? Okay, so let me show you another graph. Loving this tool. But since I have to, okay. Okay, then share another photo. Stop sharing this. Okay. All right, so this is another This is another chart. So this one looks at how dramatically, this is Atlanta's Fed's GDP now Q2 forecast versus what actually is the case. So basically, like you can see what they expected and where it actually is, and that range is massive because like they had expected that Q2 forecast was supposed to be like 3.1%, but in reality, it actually dropped to 1.7%. So that dramatic shift really represents like weaker consumer spending in the market. Again, a lot of these predictions are really off kilter to what the reality is. And I'm showing you all these things, not to basically I'm showing you all these data points just to really emphasize the fact that the people who are supposed to be the authority, who we're relying on to actually decide like a lot of big things, right? Like interest rate hikes, interest rate reduction, they're really using data that are not accurate. And it's not that I'm saying it's not accurate, they're actually doing the revisions themselves. So that's something that we have to really consider and understand. Hello. Hi, Nash made it. Hey, Aaron. So when we're doing, so when we're deep, when we're doing, when we're looking to purchase properties, like part of the analysis is like, hey, do we need to consider in what where interest rate's going to be in 2 months, 1 month, a year, 6 months, whatever. And I just had this conversation with, uh, an interviewer interview. I was interviewed on a podcast. And so that was a conversation we had. And I told him like the difference between today and 2022 is that in 2022, we did not see the interest rate hikes coming. It's a black swan event that really put people and deals in a bad position because they didn't know it was coming. So they didn't underwrite for that when they were doing their financial models. They were going in at 3.5%, maybe 3.25%, 4% interest rates. No one saw that it was going to be 5 plus, 6 plus, 7 plus percent, right? And therefore, that model would be screwed up because imagine if you're driving and then all of a sudden it just went pitch black, but you don't have directions, you don't have GPS, so you don't know what's happening, you didn't see it coming. I think that right now, because we're at least at the bottom of the market, you can see the light at the end of the tunnel. So now you know what's coming. So when you're underwriting, when you're making a decision to purchase a property, you're doing so from a very high interest rate point of view. And now you're just looking to see like, and then like any drop at whatsoever will be positively impacting your deal. Because when you're buying today, you're buying with today's reality in mind. And so for instance, like if you're saying, hey, I'm going to buy a property that's $20 million in today's reality, maybe it's a 6.5 cap rate, 7 cap rate, whatever that is. There's a direct correlation. There's a correlation between interest rate and cap rates. Interest rate drops, cap rates also drops. So therefore, you bought a property at 6 or 7% today, interest rate starts dropping, cap rate will also start dropping. And that's your value add without having to do anything, right? It's organically built into the system. So when you're underwriting today, underwrite for today's reality, we always talk about like, hey, buying for today's performance versus projections. So performance is important when you're buying multifamily properties. No problem, buy Deepak. So when we're buying properties in today's reality, we're underwriting for based on current performance. We're not looking for just future projections, because if we only look for like, hey, the potential is amazing, but today's deal it's not actually a viable deal today, then that's not a good thing. So when we're looking to purchase a property today, the deal itself needs to make sense based on today's reality. And once things improve, once interest rate starts dropping, any incremental drop in interest rate will drop cap rate, which will exponentially increase the value of the property. And right now, I think 70% of the market believes that there will be at least one interest rate drop in September. I think behind the scenes, there's more happening that will make the feds and people in power a little bit more nervous than we're showing, because like all these revisions is really proof that there's no accurate data that's coming out right away. I don't even understand why these revisions have to happen in such an extreme. And you saw from the chart that like, hey, these gaps are massive, right? And if most of the jobs that are being hired are government jobs, that in itself is proof that it's like, it doesn't show like the health of the private sector, which is actually have more impact on like us representing what's really happening in the economy versus the government, who technically can, print money. So those are kind of like the facts I wanted to share about inflation, interest rates, and like where I see things going in the next couple months and then a couple years in advance. If anyone loves this topic, this is the first time we kind of go deeper into like economic stuff. If you guys like this, let me know, wave, and we can try to do more of them. Maybe we can do it once a month or something like that. Also, if anyone wants to join our free newsletter, which is called 100-Year Legacy, because a lot of us are in I would assume that most of us or all of us who are in real estate or investing in whatever you're doing isn't only doing it for your own financial freedom, that you're also looking to build a lasting legacy. We always talk about that there's 3 pillars to any financial fortress. The first one is your active income. You have to be able to make enough active income, obviously, to survive, but also the goal isn't to only solely rely on your active income. If you guys ever know our story, our background, when we were in the fashion business, my sister and I only had that one income base. It was active income. And when our customer shut down all their retail stores, we lost 95% of our income overnight. And that obviously took several years for us to actually build it back up. And so active income is important because and unless you have that, that's the base for anything else. The second pillar that we always emphasize is passive income. And the reason that passive income becomes important is because when there's a black swan event or there's forces or there's things that are outside of your control, if you have passive income that exceeds your expenses, that's something that you can rely on to help you not only survive but thrive during times of change. More importantly, more important than those two things, active and passive income, I think, is legacy income. So what is the legacy income? Legacy income basically is income that's in excess of your passive income. This is stuff that you can use not only to create philanthropic causes that are near and dear to your heart, if there's social issues or national like animal rights, all those things that you want to participate in. Your legacy income will be the place where you're going to have excess money to be able to put to those causes. But more importantly, you also have the capability to also help now your future generations. Now you're setting up long-term wealth. And that's why we call our newsletter 100-Year Legacy. It's because 100 years from now, when it's your kids, grandkids, they're going to look up on the mantle and say like, hey, mom and dad or grandparents, great grandfather, great grandmother, you did a great job at setting up our legacy. The key to setting up 100 legacy isn't to set up trust fund babies who don't understand how to grow this wealth and also positively impact the world. The goal is so that the future generations are educated financially so that they can have the ability to grow your wealth even more by generations. You see very classic example of this when they talk about the Vanderbilts and how they were the richest family in the world, and within a couple of decades they lost all their wealth because the family didn't understand how to grow it. Versus the Rockefeller family, who continue to be philanthropic to this day and have amassed continuous wealth because they knew how to grow their wealth over their generations. So those are the 3 pillars that we always want to have: active, passive, and legacy. So if that's something that you guys want, DM us, or you can even write in the comment and we'll send you a link to set up to join our 100-Year Legacy newsletter. You can do that on YouTube, Facebook, or Instagram. And that is what that's it for what I wanted to bring in to discuss today. Hope you guys had some value. Give me some heart if that was something that you guys like, and then we'll come back and do this again sometime. And thanks for indulging me with the new technology. Now that I know how to share stuff on Instagram, it's pretty cool. All right, guys, have a great rest of your Thursday. Thanks for the hearts. I'll see you guys next time.